From South Carolina Public Radio, this is Who, What, When. It's an hour of history, games, and trivia. I'm Brandon Gray.
And I'm Daniel Thompson. Thanks for joining us, partner. This week, we're traveling back to the Wild Wild West. Some of the rootinest, tootinest quizzes around.
Oh, coming up, we'll test your knowledge of Wild West slang and see if you can tell the difference between the history of the American West and Clint Eastwood movies, and hear 3 stories from the Wild, Wild West. But only 2 of them are true. The other one is so wild it had to be made up. Can you guess which one it is?
Maybe it involves a mechanical spider in the desert. We'll never know. If you want to be a contestant on Who, What, When, give us a call at 803-470-6347. Again, that's 803-470-6347. Or send us an email to whowhatwhen@scpublicradio.org. You'll have a chance to win a Who, What, When fanny pack and the official title of Who, What, When Champion of the Week.
Dan, I can't believe that we're talking about Wild Wild West this week.
That's right. An entire episode devoted to Wild Wild West, that 1999 Will Smith classic with the giant mechanical spider. What a film.
Yes, sir. Jim West, Desperado.
When I roll into... Nope, just kidding. Of course, we're talking not about that film, but about the Wild West. Just one wild, also known as the American frontier. This is the term covering the history, culture, and folklore associated with Western expansion in our country. We usually think of the 1800s to the early 1900s when we talk about the Old West.
We're talking about cowboys, outlaws, shootouts at the OK Corral.
You bet we are, Brand. There were no rules. States weren't states then, as we know them today. They were territories. People could kind of do whatever the sheriff said they could do. Martial law, gunslinging, duels, things that may or may not really have happened. Our image of the Wild West is so tainted by popular culture that sometimes we don't know what actually happened and what's just tall tales we've heard over the years.
That's right. And we're going to be looking at both sides of that coin this hour, the facts of the period, as well as the myths and folklore that we're familiar with from movies, TV, and everything else under the sun. And to do that, we're going to need a couple of contestants, Dano.
Sure do, Bran, and we actually have some on the line. Let's meet them. Caller number 1, what's your name and where are you from?
Hey there, my name is Cam Powell, and I'm from Columbia, South Carolina.
Cam
Hey,
from
Cam,
right
how
here in
about
Columbia.
that?
Me too, Cam. I'm also from Columbia, so it's nice to have a good old local boy on the show.
Absolutely. Cam, are you more wild or more west? What would you say?
I'm going to go more west, I think.
I thought
Definitely
you might.
a west guy, yeah.
Definitely a West guy, not wild. He's not wild.
He's not wild.
No. He's in the pocket is what
Yes.
he is. That's Cam from Columbia, South Carolina. He's going to be playing against caller number 2. Caller number 2, what's your name? Where are you from?
Hey, I'm Ernie Delasanti. I'm from White House Station, New Jersey.
White House Station, New Jersey.
That's right.
That tells me that Ernie is wild, not West. So we've
100%.
got wild versus...
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, we don't need to ask him. White House Station in New Jersey. You're not West. You're wild. You're wild out there. So we got Wild Man Ernie versus West guy Cam.
West.
That's right. Cam, Ernie, the first game you're going to be playing is a little game called Cowboy Slang with Wally Edge. Wally Edge is our affectionate nickname for our in-house legend here at South Carolina Public Radio, your boy Walter Edgar.
That's right, old Wally Edge himself. He's the host of Walter Edgar's Journal podcast and, of course, the authority on South Carolina history. And we love to have him on the show, sometimes to help us read some clues, especially when we get him to say some outdated slang.
You betcha. And I don't know if you know this, but out in the Wild West, they talked a little different.
I reckon that's the case, Dano.
It was a very specific type of language that we associate most heavily with cowboys. It typically got to the point and typically used phrases for multiple meanings. It could sound very quaint and down home, and some of these phrases have just gone by the wayside a bit.
And that is exactly why we've asked our friend Walter Edgar to come in on his day off, I understand,
Wow.
and describe some of this slang. And Cam and Ernie, you have to try to tell us which of the choices Walter gives you is the actual real phrase.
And we're going to start with Cam this round. Cam, are you ready for your first question here on Cowboy Slang with Wally Edge?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, Walter, take it away.
To come clean, admit the truth, confess a lie, or just finally be honest with yourself and others. A, kick the doors off the saloon. B, rustle up some grub. C, acknowledge the corn.
So, Cam, there's a lot there. The choices were kick the doors off the saloon, rustle up some grub, acknowledge the corn.
What is it? Yeah, you're coming clean. You're admitting
You're coming
something.
clean. What do you think that was like out west, Cam?
Oh, man. Well, I don't think it's B. Rustle up some grub, I'm pretty sure, is finding some food. And acknowledge the corn, that one just doesn't sound like it really got said by anyone at this point.
until right now in history, the words acknowledge the corn you're saying has never been said. I got you.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. So I'm going to go with A.
Kick the doors off the
saloon. Yep.
Yeah.
That makes total sense to me. You know,
right.
when you're trying to like drop a bomb, a truth bomb, you're going to kick the doors off the saloon. I think I would have gone with that as well.
Well, Cam, I've got to acknowledge the corn here, buddy. You were incorrect because, believe it or not, in the Wild West, I had to look this up. I didn't believe it. I saw it on 2 websites, and I didn't believe it. I had to do my own Googling. The phrase acknowledge the corn was really used in the Wild West.
Bring it back.
Wow.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? So that's a tough way to get started, but also that's exactly how I would have processed that question. So, maybe you just got a tough one out of the box there and things will get better. Let's move over to Ernie from White House Station, New Jersey. Ernie, are you ready for your first question here on Cowboy Slang with Wally Edge?
You bet.
All right. Everything's better with Walter. Take it away.
Instead of calling them doctors or some other medically professional name, in the Wild West, you might be told to go see A, a pill, B, a pan, C, a pocket.
Would you be told to go see a pill, a pan, or a pocket?
A doctor. A doctor.
A doctor, a pill, a pen, or a pocket. Well, doctors like to pick my pocket, so that's an option there.
Yeah.
But I might have to go with pill. Yeah, I'll go with pill.
He's going to go with pill, and he is correct.
That's good thought process
Talking
there,
it out.
Ernie. I maybe would have gone with pan because of bedpans. I'm just thinking
Pick my
through.
pocket. I think that all of those,
They're
had
all
some-
good possibilities, but I like where you landed,
Yeah.
and the good news is you were correct.
That's
Ernie.
right. Ernie takes a commanding 1-0 lead here early on in Who, What, When. Tough to come back
We'll
here.
see, Cam. I believe in you, buddy.
Cam, your next question here on Cowboy Slang with Wally Edge.
If someone just weren't in a great mood, unhappy, or maybe not tasting the rainbow, you would say they were A, all beer and no Skittles, B, all pan and no flash, C, all scorch and no sun.
That is. Cam, your choices there. A, all beer and no Skittles. B, all pan and no flash. C, all scorch and no sun. Who's not in a great mood, Cam?
Oh, process of elimination, I'm not thinking that it's beer and Skittles. I don't know what Skittles would have meant to them back then. So I'm going to eliminate A. All pan and no flash sounds good. Gold rush kind of, Western connotation there.
Yeah.
So,
And the bedpans, of course.
yep, absolutely. You can't forget those. Yeah, I'm going to go with, I'll go with B. I'll go with all pan, no flash.
He's going with B, all pan, no flash. I'm beginning to think Cam is too smart for the game. Cam, it said if someone wasn't in a great mood or maybe not tasting the rainbow, that was your key.
That was your
Oh,
That
geez.
we were looking for all beer and no Skittles.
What did Skittles
Wow.
mean, though? Cam brings up a good
so
point.
Skittles were a part of an old Middle Eastern target game like bowling pins.
Oh,
So
interesting.
they were called. So it would be like going to the bowling alley now and having all the beer in the world and
But
no
not-
bowling pins,
yeah.
which is something that we don't say anymore because Skittles is now a candy. That's why we don't say it. Cam's gotten the tricky one so far.
Yeah.
I will say that. They're both tricky. We got plenty of time left, Cam. Ernie, the next one's coming, and I got to be honest, Cam's going to be happy that you got it and not him. It's question number 4. It's Ernie's second question. It's Cowboy Slang with Wally Edge on South Carolina Public Radio. Walter Edgar, take it away.
If you aspire to use words for a living, whether writing or talking, out west they might call you A, a swill slinger, B, a slang whanger, C, a suit scraper.
Yeah. That's A, swill slinger, B, slang wanger, C, soot scraper. What are you thinking, Ernie?
Ooh. Well, I was a journalism major in college, and I wasn't called any of those. So,
Not to your face, anyway.
yeah, I quickly got out of that job, that profession. I think swill was something that was looked negatively on. So, and I don't think journalists were very popular back then. So I go with the first one. I go with A.
Swill slinger is his answer. As good an answer as there is on that board, but unfortunately it's incorrect, Ernie. We're looking for the one I can't believe it is. We're looking for slang wanger.
Slang wanger.
Slang
The
wanger.
thing that's impressive to me, or I guess surprising, I should say, is that slang was in the Wild West vernacular.
Yeah.
I think of slang as being a thing we would say today.
That's a great-
a
yeah.
part of cowboy slang with Wally Edge.
But it was around
It was
back
around.
then, and also great use of vernacular, Brand, and I want to point that out.
Thank you very much. I Googled it before I said it.
That's right. Cam, the door's back open. It's only 1-0 here on Cowboy Slang with Wally Edge. Your next question from Walter Edgar starts right now.
After the Civil War, so many people were leaving for the Southwest that they coined this abbreviation. A, MOW, moving out west. B, LFS, leaving for Son. Or C, GTT, gone to Texas.
All right, Cam, you've got moving out west, leaving for Sun, or gone to Texas.
Oh,
Which of these would you like text? You know, if you were texting today, you'd be like, LOL, I'm MOW. You know, like what would you do?
BRB, I'm GTT.
I want to say, if it wasn't a whole movement specifically, to the state of Texas in general, maybe it wouldn't be that specific.
Uh-huh.
So I'm going to go with MOW, moving out west.
MOW would make a lot of sense, Cam, but as you're learning here on Who, What, When, typically that means it's the wrong answer. It's actually GTT gone to Texas. If you can
Here's,
believe it.
I'm going to give you advice, Cam. Whatever you think it is, and just go with it. Let's just see how that goes next time.
But the thing is that it would make sense. But what happens is Texas just became this Western area. Texas is its own thing. It was its own country
what
for a
I've
while.
heard about it is that everything's bigger there.
Everything's bigger in Texas.
And I can't confirm that.
You can't confirm nor deny, but you would just say, yeah, they're going to Texas.
They gone to Texas.
They're not really Texas, but yeah, we'll just call it Texas.
Yeah, it's like how everything is just, everything's Coke.
All right. Ernie, it's 1-0. The board is back to you. We're here on Who, What, When, South Carolina Public Radio, playing a little game called Cowboy Slang with Wally Edge. Walter, go ahead.
I was just going to say, the points here are insane. It's currently
we're burning up
1-0.
we're burning up the scoreboard. Walter, take it away.
If you were deciding to dip into the liquor cabinet, instead of whiskey, you might call it A, family disturbance, B, parlor habit, C, tumbleweed gravy.
All right, Ernie, if you're dipping into Grandpa's
gravy.
if you're dipping into
I like all of these, to be honest with you. I'm taking all of these.
I'm not going to tell you if it's correct or not, but if I don't use tumbleweed gravy again in my life, you need to punch me because I think it's great.
I think we might go get some tumbleweed gravy tonight.
Yeah, we could. Just a little shot of tumbleweed gravy.
Hey, Jamie, you pour me another shot of tumbleweed gravy?
Give me a tall boy tumbleweed gravy, please. Yeah, Ernie, the old grandpa's cough medicine, liquor cabinet out west. Would you might call it the family disturbance, the parlor habit, or the tumbleweed gravy?
As much as I like tumbleweed gravy, I don't know if that has anything to do with the family and Grandpa.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking family disturbance.
He's thinking family disturbance, and he's thinking right.
That's crazy. I got to be honest. I think I would have gone with a parlor habit.
Yeah, parlor habit.
Just like a disturbance. I don't know, it makes it too negative, you know?
Yeah.
And like, I don't think they had any problem
That's right.
with the amount that people were drinking in the Wild West. They were like, the more the better. Disturbance has negativity to it. I would have gone with Parlor Habit, and I'm glad I'm not playing because I would have been wrong.
You would have been wrong. And I got to be honest, I don't get a writing credit on this show, and I'm fine with it. It doesn't bother me at all. But I did write Tumbleweed Gravy, and I've never been prouder of anything in my life. And I just want credit is all I want. It's 2-0, Cam. Would you have gotten Family Disturbance right? Just would you have?
No.
Okay, fair enough.
Great.
Remember, Cam, this next one.
You missed this one, you may need to hit the Tumbleweed Gravy.
That's true.
That sounds good.
But go with Not Your Gut.
Go with Not Your
You
Gut.
know?
It's Who What When. It's South Carolina Public Radio. It's Cowboy Slang with Wally Edge. Cam's question starts right now.
If you wanted to gamble at the saloon, you'd probably need a deck of cards, or maybe you'd call it A, the Thinking Man's Six-Shooter, B, the California Prayer Book, C, the Shot of Trouble.
All right, Cam, a deck of cards at a saloon. Thinking Man, Six-Shooter, California Prayer Book, Shot of Trouble.
I don't understand how any of these would be what you would say in regards to the deck of cards.
All right, Cam, what are you thinking?
Yeah, all of them sound pretty ridiculous. So I think the most ridiculous, the one that I would have eliminated off the bat, would have been A. So I guess this time I'll go with A, the Thinking Man Six-Shooter.
Thinking Man Six-Shooter would be ridiculous, and it is incorrect.
No.
Cam, it's all right. It's all right, Cam. It's okay. It's okay.
Strategy's backfiring.
It's all right. There's a way to get some bonus points in the next round. I do want to tell you that right now. So that's the good news. Cam, we were looking for the California Prayer Book.
I don't get it.
Yeah. I do think that and this is conjecture, I don't know this, but when people moved out west, there wasn't an established religion to go to church to. Typically, the Bible was your gun. Like, people would call revolvers Bibles. Like,
Well, it's good that that's changed.
and so that is probably where it originated. If the church was the saloon and the gun was your Bible, then the deck of cards was your. But I don't know that for a fact.
That's
that is
good. Listen, that's good.
That's my guess based upon putting together some pieces from history that I do know are fact. I'm GTT with my California Prayer Book, and hand me a shot of that Tumbleweed Gravy.
Ernie, this is a pretty big one for you. This is the last question in the round. And you could either go into round 2 up 3-0 or 2-0.
Yep.
And it doesn't sound like a lot, but 2-0 is pretty easy. Cam could come back. 3-0 is going to be tough. So I don't want to say it's, this is a must get, because it's not, but it would really help heading into round 2.
All right, Ernie, last question from Walter Edgar. Take it away, Walter.
If you woke up to find a murdered body in the streets, you'd be more likely to call it A man for breakfast, B, sunshine and gunshots, C, wakey man out bakey.
I love all three of them. I got to be honest with you.
Said only how Walter can say it, too. You know what I mean? Like, Ernie, is it a man for breakfast? Is it sunshine and gunshots, or is it wakey man's out bakey?
I'm gonna have to go with my gut and go with A.
He's going with a man for breakfast. His gut has not let him wrong.
Wow.
Ernie.
Wow.
Ernie, 3 out of 4 that round.
That's amazing.
That's good stuff.
Amazing.
All right. Cam's got quite a mountain ahead of him.
He does.
And that's okay, because in the next round, there's going to be some opportunity to get more than 1 point at a time. And if you know your Western movies, you might be in luck, Cam.
Do you know your Western movies?
I'm going to go with some of them.
Okay.
Right. I love it. 50-50. I love those odds for Cam. All right, so Cam's got quite a mountain ahead of him, but we have more games to play, and there's still time to see who comes out on top today.
That's right. This is Who What When, South Carolina Public Radio's Hour of History, Games, and Trivia. I'm Brandon Gray.
And I'm Daniel Thompson. Reach for the sky, Brand. It's Wild Wild West week here on the show. We've got Cam from Columbia, South Carolina, and Ernie from White House Station, New Jersey, playing with us today.
Coming up after this break, we'll see how well they know fact from fiction about the American West in a game pitting history against Hollywood.
That's next up here on Who What When.
Welcome back to Who, What, When, an hour of history, games, and trivia right here on South Carolina Public Radio. I'm Sheriff Brandon Gray.
And I'm Deputy Daniel Thompson.
That's right.
And we're traveling back to the American West this week. And we've got another great game coming up in a moment. But first, we need to let you know that you can be a contestant on this show.
Come
it's
on.
a ton of fun. Give us a call, 803-470-6347, or send us an email to whowhatwhen@scpublicradio.org.
And we've got our contestants from the first game, Ernie and Cam, still on the line with us. Ernie's got a few more points than Cam, 3-0, but that could all change very quickly in this next game.
This game's called Eastwood or West, and I'm going to read a few stories, and they are either a real event from the history of the American frontier or the plot from a Clint Eastwood Western movie. And as a special incentive this round, if the answer is a Clint Eastwood movie and you get it right, you have the chance to name what the movie is for a bonus point.
Ooh, so Cam could easily come back this round. That is exciting. Or, Ernie could make this lead basically out of reach.
That's right. Could go either way. And Cam's going to go first this round and hear our first story. Cam, are you ready to go?
Let's do it.
Here we go. In 1880, two bands of gunfighters descended upon Big Whiskey, Wyoming, in hopes of collecting the reward posted by a brothel in a town controlled by Little Bill Daggett, the infamous sheriff that outlawed vigilante behavior. One group of gunfighters was led by Will Money, and the other led by English Bob. The inevitable showdown of Money, Bob, and Daggett left a lasting impression on the history of the West in Wyoming.
I actually used Money, Bob, and Daggett in my last divorce, so this is actually really easy for me.
Yeah, I bet you did. And it's just Money and Bob. Daggett got got too heavily reliant upon the old tumbleweed gravy.
They did.
Cam, do you think that is Eastwood or West?
Oh, it sounds really well scripted the way that you guys have written it. I'm going to go with Eastwood. I'm thinking
he's going to go with Eastwood, and Cam from Columbia, South Carolina, is on the board. He's on the board.
Cam. Hey,
Let's do it.
Do you know the movie for a bonus point?
Absolutely not.
Okay, I'm glad I asked.
He doesn't know the movie. You want to take a guess at a Clint Eastwood movie?
The only ones that are coming to mind are I know not right.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not Dirty Harry. I know that, and that's what's coming to mind right
Okay.
now.
All right.
The movie we're looking for is my favorite Clint Eastwood movie. It's Unforgiven. Unforgiven. Gene Hackman is Little Bill Daggett. Great time. All right, Ernie.
1992 movie.
That's right.
How about that?
Yeah,
Good year.
Ernie, are you ready to play Eastwood or West?
Yep, about as ready as I can be.
I love it. All right, here we go. After seeing his wife and child murdered by Union Captain Terrell during the Civil War, Josie shoots his way out of Missouri as the Confederacy is surrendering. He flees to Texas to start a new life, but Terrell puts a bounty on his head, which puts himself and those he meets in serious danger. Is that Eastwood or West?
That sounds like a pretty good script. It might be the outlaw Josie Wales. I'm going to go West.
He's going West. That is incorrect.
Oh.
Ernie, we were looking for Eastwood and the outlaw Josie Wales.
That hurt. That hurt my soul.
We could have ended the game and just run classical music for 30 minutes. You hit it right then and there. But instead, you get nothing. It's 3-1.
Ernie, what happened?
What happened, buddy?
You said it might be outlaw Josie Wales, and then you said West.
I thought that was a real person.
I love that.
The outlaw Josie Wales, as far as I know, is not a real person, but it is a take
Real
on
movie.
border ruffians that did exist during that time, right before and during the Civil War. Yes.
We always tell our contestants to talk it out. When they do it, it hurts. It hurts
us.
sometimes.
We're over
It
here
hurts
reacting.
us.
That's right. Cam, door's still open for you. You ready for your next question here on Eastwood or West?
Yep, let's do it.
All right. After fighting on the side of anti-slavery vigilantes in Kansas, Bill Hickok moves to Nebraska to work at the Rock Creek Pony Express station during the Civil War. Villain and previous owner of the station, David McCandless, shows up and claims rightful ownership of the station or a hefty payment. Hickok works with station chief Horace Wellman to defeat McCandless and gain notoriety as the hero, Wild Bill Hickok. Is that Eastwood or West, Cam?
I want to say that is West. I think those names sound like things I have heard before outside of just a movie context. I'm going to go with West.
They've made movies about Wild Bill Hickok, but none have Clint Eastwood in them that I know. That is a real story from the Wild West. And he said he was West in the beginning, and he's proving it to be correct.
Is.
And he's back in it. It's 3-2. Ernie, pressure starting to mount a bit, sir. Are you ready for your question here on Eastwood or West?
I'm starting to sweat, but let's get going.
Let's do it. I love it. Born in Griffin, Georgia, John Henry Holliday enrolls in dentistry college and practices it in St. Louis, Missouri. After contracting tuberculosis, John looks at the time he has left and leaves his life of dentistry for a life of gambling and vigilantism, helping Deputy U.S. Marshal Wyatt Earp defeat the criminal Clanton brothers at the OK Corral in the Arizona Territory in 1881.
I love the OK Corral. If you go before 5, it's cheaper. And they still have all...
They don't have the steak, though.
They don't have the steak.
That's right.
But I think you can...
Different corral. Ernie, is that Eastwood or West?
I know there's been a lot of movies made about Doc Holliday, who I think this is about. Do I make the same mistake and go West again?
Do you?
Yeah, I'm going to go West.
He's going to go West, and he is correct.
Ernie, that was close, buddy. I was nervous for you. I thought you were going to flip-flop.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
He's correct, though, Bran. There have been a lot of movies made about John Henry Holliday, better known as Doc Holliday.
Doc Holliday.
Maybe most famously portrayed by Val Kilmer in Tombstone.
Okay.
A movie about the OK Corral, but not featuring Clint Eastwood. So, yeah, that is West, and that is correct.
Is the OK Corral still a buffet, or is it totally different?
I think it's a sit-down a la carte now.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
Okay,
hate
of
that.
course.
They still have cotton candy?
I don't know about the cotton candy.
Okay.
But once you find a Band-Aid in there, all bets are off.
Yeah, well.
Here we go. Cam, it's 4-2. We're playing Eastwood or West here on Who, What, When on South Carolina Public Radio. Here's your next question. After escaping a gang of men trying to unduly murder him, Jed Cooper is deputized by Marshal Dave Bliss and Judge Adam Fenton. Together, these three men create a legacy of distributing martial justice across the Oklahoma Territory in the late 1860s, creating the blueprint for federal marshals in the Western Territory after the Civil War.
It's amazing. Martial Justice is the new Eminem album. Really excited to listen to it.
Yeah. That's who killed Slim Shady.
Yeah, it is.
Cam, are you? Does this sound like Eastwood, or does it sound like the Wild West to you?
The names didn't immediately ring a bell, and they sound a little too like movie perfect. Someone with the last name Bliss, so I'm going to go Eastwood.
He's gonna go Eastwood, and he is correct.
Wow, this is a game. This is a game.
We're doing it.
Do you have a
guess as to what movie this is from Clint Eastwood?
If you guess it, it's tied.
I absolutely do not. I'm going to go, just to throw out another Clint Eastwood movie that's not in the West, but it's just a Clint Eastwood movie, so I can say one, Gran Torino.
Yes.
Oh, my gosh, it's Gran Torino.
After Jed Cooper, Dave Bliss, and Adam Fenton established the blueprint for martial justice in the 1880s, they do tell young men to get off their lawn in the late 2000s.
That's right.
That is true.
That's what I thought.
Incorrect. We're looking for Hang 'em High. Hang 'em High.
Hang 'em high.
The name of the movie, Hang 'em High. All right, it's 4-3. Ernie, the board is yours. Let's get to your question here on Eastwood or West. In 1881, a 24-year-old shipbuilder named Teddy has his boat stolen by a band of thieves that use it to sail down the Little Missouri River through Wyoming and Montana. Teddy enlists the help of two of his ranch hands to craft a new boat in 3 days and set sail down the river in pursuit of the thieves. He successfully catches the thieves, takes them back 300 miles upriver to the spot of the original theft, and sends them to jail, dispensing true and wild justice in the West. Ernie, is that Eastwood or West?
Crafting a boat in 3 days sounds a little impossible with three people, but I don't know. Who knows? It may be movie-making magic. So I'm going to go Eastwood on this one.
He's going to go Eastwood, and he's going to be incorrect.
Uh-oh.
If you notice, I gave no last names in this story because not only is this story true, Bran, about a guy getting his boat stolen and taking it down the river, and then this other guy building a new boat in 3 days and taking this person to justice. This person named Teddy, you know who that Teddy happened to be?
Who?
President Teddy Roosevelt.
Wow.
President Teddy Roosevelt did this and many other things. If you go look up your boy Teddy, he had quite a life. That is President Teddy Roosevelt, and it's a true story. It does sound very cinematic, though, and I'm with Ernie. I don't know how you built a ship in 3 days in the 1800s, but they did it. So
if anyone could do it, though,
that's right.
It's Teddy Roosevelt.
All right. Next question. Going to Cam. He's got a chance to tie or take the lead, depending on how this goes. Here we go, Cam. Your question. One of the most famous criminal duos of the Wild West were known as Joe and Tuco. Operating mainly in New Mexico in the early 1860s, Tuco would commit a crime. Joe would turn him in for the reward money, then rescue him from prison before his execution. The two would make off with the cash and perform the trick again. Joe and Tuco's partnership didn't last, however, as the two dissolved each other's agreement and sought the death of each other after a crime goes awry. Is that Eastwood or West?
I do want to set the stage just really quickly, Cam. This is it. It's all or nothing for you. If you get this wrong, see ya. Bye-bye. Go have your tumblewood gravy.
Tumblewood gravy.
If you get
That's
this,
off-brand tumblewood
if you get
gravy.
this, it's tied.
Yeah.
So that's pretty tough. It puts all the pressure on.
What are you thinking,
Again,
Cam?
I don't want to put too much pressure on you.
No.
No, I mean, it's a lot of pressure. Now I'm just thinking about the impending tumbleweed gravy.
We all are.
Context clues. You mentioned not using last names in the last one. You didn't use last names in this one, which makes me think maybe it's real. It's West. I'm going to go with that. I'm going to go with West. He's
going to go with West, and I got to be honest, in the history of Who, What, When, I think Cam is the smartest player we've ever had to get this many wrong. Everything he says, I'm like, that's exactly how I would deduce this answer. And then he overthinks the room. He overthinks the room. Cam, that is The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. A Clint Eastwood film where none of the characters, at least the main ones, are given last names. And that means, unfortunately, Cam, you've been amazing. You've represented Columbia well. Your time's up here on Who, What, When. We thank you for playing. You're not getting a fanny pack, but you're getting our respect.
That's exactly
and I think that's
right.
a great consolation prize.
That's right.
That's all I've ever wanted. Thank you.
Next round of Tumbleweed Gravy's on us, Cam. Thanks for playing. You're tuned into Who, What, When, an hour of history, games, and trivia from South Carolina Public Radio. I'm Daniel Thompson here with my good buddy Brandon Gray.
It's the Wild West today on Who, What, When. Our contestants, Ernie from New Jersey, has won our first two games, which means he's got a chance to be deputized as the Who, What, When Champion of the Week, Dan, but only if he can get through the final round.
That's coming up right after this break on Who, What, When. Welcome back to Who, What, When here on South Carolina Public Radio. I'm Daniel Thompson.
And stick 'em up. I'm Brandon Gray. Thanks for joining us for an hour of games and trivia about the American frontier, a.k.a. the Wild West.
We've been playing today with our contestant Ernie from White House Station, New Jersey, who got through our first two segments.
And Dan, I got to be honest with you. These games so far, they have been fitting for an episode about the Wild West. They've been cutthroat shootouts. It's been close. But as the dust begins to settle, we see Ernie coming out triumphantly on his horse.
That's as many Western metaphors as you could have put in one sentence.
That's right.
And I appreciate it. He
You're
could
welcome.
go all the way, Bran, and take home not only the title of Who, What, When Champion of the Week, but also a very special Who, What, When fanny pack that you've been working hard on. All he has to do is win our final game today. It's something we love around here. It's called History or His Story.
That's right. History or His Story, one of my favorite games because of how bad I am at it. This is how the game is going to work. Dan has 3 stories from the Wild West. 2 of them are real. One of them, 100% made up by Dan. It is his story. Ernie, you'll have a chance to ask questions about each story and chat with me a little bit, see if we can figure some things out together, because I don't know which one's the real answer either, and I want to win alongside of you.
That's right. That's how we play History or His Story. Ernie, you ready to roll?
Yep.
Here's the first story. This is the tale of Butch Cassidy's secret policeman. Let me introduce you to someone you probably have heard of, Butch Cassidy, or as we call him, Robert Leroy Parker. That's
sure
his
do.
real name. He was born in 1866. He's a bank robber, a very famous U.S. train and bank robber, led a gang of outlaws known as the Wild Bunch, and the Wild Bunch's original hideout was in Casey, Wyoming, and Cassidy and one member of the Wild Bunch, you might know him as Sundance, and his girlfriend fled the country to get away from the Pinkerton Detective Agency. Now, there's a pretty healthy debate regarding his death in general, and most people think it took place in Bolivia. He was on the run. He was a real Wild West. But turns out there's plenty of evidence that would suggest Butch Cassidy's legacy is on the up and up. In 1884, Cassidy was arrested in Lander, Wyoming for stealing horses and running a protection racket among the local ranchers. He was in prison for 18 months before being released and pardoned by Wyoming Governor William Richards. Shortly after this stint in jail and subsequent pardon, Cassidy forms the Wild Bunch. The statistics here are crazy. During the 10 years of the Wild Bunch activity taking place predominantly in Wyoming and Montana, 0 official members of the Wild Bunch were apprehended or killed. The Pinkerton Agency, however, was flourishing in those two states, apprehending over 600 bank and train robbers over the course of the decade, most of which drew a cash reward. So how come no member of the Wild Bunch was ever caught?
Yeah, how come?
Let me introduce you to Edison Dawes. He's a Pinkerton agent in Laramie, Wyoming from 1885 to 1908. In 1924, he claimed that Cassidy was not only given a kickback from the Pinkerton Agency for selling out other ruffians, but that he was also deputized by the Pinkerton Agency, allowing him the ability to show his badge in case he was ever in any real danger. While cash rewards were posted for the Wild Bunch, there was an understanding between Pinkertons and local law enforcement that the Wild Bunch wasn't to be engaged with under any gunfire. When Cassidy and the Sundance Kid and his girlfriend flee the country, it was under the guise of running from the Pinkertons. But the reality, according to one Edison Dawes in 1924, was that Cassidy wanted no further part of being a double agent, and that didn't sit well with the Pinkertons. Between this account and the uncertain terms of Cassidy's death, his legacy and possible double agency will remain a mystery. That is the end of story 1. Bran, what do you think about old Cassidy being a cop?
You know what this is like? This is like in high school when your best friend tells you that they never actually liked you and they were just using you.
Wow.
It's like everything.
This seems personal for you.
That doesn't happen to everybody? That's not a universal truth?
Just you?
When you realize everything you thought was a lie, it hurts.
Yeah.
And if this is true, I don't know how I end the day without just diving deep into a tumbleweed gravy. This is everything. This is everything to me. This is everything to me. Like everything crumbles without Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid.
Well, they still existed, Bran.
Yeah, but not in a good way.
Yeah.
You know?
Ernie, what are you thinking over there?
I'm kind of the opposite of Bran here. I think it's very possible that Butch Cassidy and Pinkerton Agency had a deal here, because back then your word was everything for you, and if Pinkerton could get a better reputation by working with Butch Cassidy, and Butch Cassidy could keep his people safe, I don't know why they wouldn't do that.
Man. Ernie's breaking your heart.
I live by a very simple code, which is snitches get stitches.
Yeah,
and
you've said that for years.
It just doesn't seem like, I don't know.
All right.
I don't like it, is all I'm saying.
All right. Bran, recover while I tell this next story and see if it helps you clear things up a little bit. Maybe this story will make you think more that one's a lie.
I'll just say this. If this second story is about Jesse James, I'm out.
The second story is called A Tale of Two Jesse Jameses.
Son of a gun.
Let me introduce you to Jesse James, the American outlaw. He's also a bank and train robber, seemed to be pretty popular in the Wild Wild West. He's the leader of the James Younger gang. He was a Confederate guerrilla during the Civil War. He gained national fame and popularity, even though the crimes of the James Younger gang were usually quite brutal. He was very popular from 1866 to 1876. In 1876, there was a bank robbery gone wrong in Northfield, Minnesota, where several gang members were captured and killed. April 3rd, 1882, James is shot by the coward Robert Ford, a tale as old as time, a new gang recruit hoping to collect the bounty for James. James's death and subsequent legend made him the most memorable and iconic figure of the Wild West. Buried in the front yard of the farm, where he was shot in Granbury, Texas, to scare off robbers until the most of his contemporaries died, at which point they moved the body to his birth home in Kearney, Missouri, with the rest of his family. Or did that even happen? Let me introduce you to J. Frank Dalton, born in Goliad County, Texas in March of 1848, died in 1951 at 103 years old.
Wow.
In 1948, at 100 years old, he claimed to be the real Jesse James. Dalton spent much of the 1940s claiming he was a different outlaw, a man named Frank Dalton, that was believed to have been killed in 1887. While some immediately wrote Dalton off as an old fool, historians that dug deeper came up with some interesting finds. First off, Dalton was a pro-Confederate guerrilla in Missouri during the Civil War, just like Jesse James. He also carried all of the unique body features written about Jesse James, including but not limited to 7 bullet wounds, rope burn around his neck, collapsed lung, damaged fingertip, severely burned feet. Living relatives of the real James questioned Dalton and found his answers came up wanting and denied his claims. On August 15th, 1951, Dalton dies, and with his death certificate recorded as Jesse James. He's buried in James's original burial site in Granbury, Texas. Years later, mitochondrial DNA testing supported evidence that the real Jesse James was in fact in Kearney, Missouri, not Frank J. Dalton, although it was inconclusive. That is the end of the second story, the two Jesse Jameses. Brand, what do you think?
Well, we've all met people that have 7 bullet wounds and rope burn around their neck and a collapsed lung and a damaged fingertip. Like, that's just right. So everybody has that. So who can say, really? Seems like this guy's just full of it. No, makes total sense. That's so much stuff.
So much stuff.
To both people have the same things, unless he's real committed to the bit, and he went out one day and he shot himself 7 times.
Yeah.
And just because he wanted.
You think he's Jesse James?
Maybe.
I
think so.
Maybe it's Maybelline.
Maybe.
It's unbelievable. Ernie, what are you thinking?
Well, like Brand said, everybody's got one of those in their family. I've got 2 of them.
That's why you're Wild Ernie.
Yeah, exactly. Coming from Jersey, it's a commonality out here.
Uh-huh.
I don't know. I mean, this one's a tough one.
All right, we're about to make things tougher too, Ernie, if that is your real name, because I'm going to throw one more story in the mix, and you're going to have to tell me which one the lie is. Are we ready for story number 3?
I'm ready.
This is the tale of the Wild West Mummy.
I love that movie.
Starts right now. 1999's The Mummy. Classic. Absolutely. Let me tell you about Elmer McCurdy, our third 1800s American bank and train robber, along with Cassidy and Jesse James.
Right.
He was known as the bandit who wouldn't give up. He never rose to fame like some of the greats, but is now known as one of the last bandits of the Wild West as we know it. He worked as a plumber and miner throughout his life, and he was killed in a shootout with police after robbing Katy Train in Oklahoma, and he swore he'd never be taken alive. This is where the story gets weird. McCurdy's body was mummified and used as a carnival sideshow attraction. McCurdy owed a $500 debt that, upon his death, meant his body was used as security on that debt, mummified and sold into the carnival. So to pay off a debt, they mummified this guy's body to show it, to scare people.
Gotta do what you gotta
His
do.
mummy was used for decades, first on the carnival circuit, then permanently in a fun house in Long Beach, California, where it was painted to glow in the dark. That is until a little television program in the 1970s called The $6 Million Man premiered. $6 Million Man is a very, very popular sci-fi show that ran for 5 years in the 70s. We can rebuild him. He's half man, he's half machine. For sure. His name is Steve Austin. And that's the bottom line. Air Force Colonel Steve Austin, played by Lee Majors, has superhuman strength due to bionic implants and is employed by a secret agent as a secret agent by the U.S. government. In 1976, the $6 Million Man filmed an episode at a funhouse in Long Beach, California. In one scene, the stage needed to be built around the hanging dummies in the facility, and so the crew began to move the dummies around when one of the dummies' arm broke off. Oh, no. In an effort to retrieve it and reattach it, the crewman noticed that it was human and immediately began to freak out. Shooting had to be stopped as an investigation commenced into the body, determining that it was, in fact, Wild West bandit who wouldn't give up, Elmer McCurdy, more famous dead than alive. That is the end of story number 3. Brand, what do you think?
Well, I think it's nice, He is a bandit who has never given up. His arm did. His arm gave up, but he didn't, and I think that is inspirational. And I got to be honest with you, this sounds like something that would 100% happen. The carnies are wild, and I can totally...
The carnies be crazy.
The carnies be crazy, and not only are the carnies crazy, but the carnies in the 70s... rules didn't matter. It was the Wild West. And so I think that this totally makes sense to me, but Ernie might have a different opinion here. Ernie, what do you think?
Well, was he known as the one-armed bandit afterwards?
Ernie's got jokes.
Ernie should be hosting the show. Oh, my goodness. That's really good stuff, Ernie.
Well, that's the extent of my joking. But I think you're right. This does sound something that would happen.
All right.
Listen, Ernie, I don't want to be a cam here, but you also have to consider whether or not Dan has brought a story that sounds true. He knows the carnies be crazy. So he brought a story that sounds the most likely only to trip you up. Again, you can do with that what you will, but I've seen it done before. This guy's wily.
I'm more wild than West, is what you're saying.
100%.
Yeah. Ernie, we've got to get down to brass tacks here. We got 3 stories. We got one fanny pack that may be coming your way and may be thrown into the pile of fanny packs that never make it. We'd rather not give it.
We don't
give it to somebody that didn't get it right.
I don't want to talk about it. It's a sad pile.
It is a sad
here
pile.
in South Carolina Public Radio. But Ernie, you got 3 stories from the Wild West to choose on here on History or His Story. Story number 1 is Butch Cassidy, train and bank robber, was actually a double agent working as a secret policeman during his escapades with the Sundance Kid and the Wild Bunch. Which, again, if it's not true, I don't even want to hear it. I'll walk out. Story number 2, the famed outlaw Jesse James is shot and killed in the 1880s, but 60 years later, a man named J. Frank Dalton claims at the age of 100 to be the real Jesse James. Whoa. And story number 3, Old West bank robber. Story number 3, of course, is the Old West bank robber Elmer McCurdy. Got a little mummified and was found out in the $6 million man.
Ernie, those are your stories to choose from. Which one is my story? Which story do you think is my lie? The choice is yours.
I think the Butch Cassidy one is real. That one just sounds too good to me.
All right.
Jesse James or...
Elmer McCurdy.
Well, we know Jesse James was a real person. I don't know if Elmer McCurdy was, so I'm going to go with C.
He's going with C as my story. All right, let's get Jesse James out of the way first. Jesse James, that story is 100% true.
Okay.
It's a true story.
I like that story.
That story, Frank Dalton is considered to be a guy that was trying to make a living off of the name of Jesse James. He's considered to be somewhat of a cad in that regard.
Do we know if all of the injuries that he had were self-inflicted?
I don't know, but that's a wild part of that story.
Yeah.
For him to have those physical markings is crazy.
If you're looking for that type of clout, sure, shoot yourself 7 times.
That's the one part of that story that makes it believable. The rest of that, you'd be like, of course he's not Jesse James, but that part is the part that sticks out. Butch Cassidy, the hopes and dreams of Brand rest on this being a lie. And if it's true, then that means Ernie's correct and wins a fanny pack.
And you won't hear from me the rest of the show.
That's right. Yeah, he's going to be devastated. Butch Cassidy's secret policeman is false. It is the lie. Brand pulling against our contestants.
I know, I'm in a tough spot here, but I also... I want to believe that there are things that are sacred.
That story was weaved together by yours truly, Butch Cassidy. There's no evidence to suggest he was a Pinkerton. He would in that time period that would have been worse than murder to be a double agent, and he was not one that we know of. But Elmer McCurdy's body was found on the set of $6 Million Man.
How about that,
Ernie? You've been such a valiant contestant, sir. Above and beyond. How you feeling right now?
I'm disappointed. I already had the space lined up for that fanny pack. Wow.
That's tough. We got to throw it on the pile.
It's already on the pile.
Ernie,
it's already on the pile.
Thanks so much for joining us from New Jersey. Thanks for listening to Who, What, When. We really appreciate you.
No, thank you guys for having me on.
That wraps up this Wild Wild West edition of Who, What, When. Thank you again to our contestants, Cam and Ernie. We're so sad Ernie didn't take home the Who, What, When fanny pack this week. It was just too hard of a last round, but he's still the Who, What, When champion of our hearts.
That's right. Our producer is A.T. Shire. Our executive producer is Sean Birch, who we think may actually secretly be an outlaw named Mad Dog Birch. The show is a production of South Carolina Public Radio and is made possible in part by listener contributions to the ETV Endowment of South Carolina.
If you want to be a contestant on Who, What, When, give us a call, 803-470-6347. That's 803-470-6347. Or send us an email at whowhatwhen@scpublicradio.org.
You can find out more about the show and listen to this episode again and again and again on our website, southcarolinapublicradio.org/Who, What, When.
And don't forget that you can also subscribe to Who, What, When wherever you listen to podcasts, and listen through your smart speaker by asking it to play Who, What, When.
I'm Brandon Gray.
And I'm Daniel Thompson. Join us again next week for more history, games, and trivia right here on Who, What, When.